Good morning. We'll call the Wednesday morning, January 11th criminal justice meeting to order. Start with roll call, please.
Mr. Hess?
Present.
Mr. Long? Mr. Fairfield?
Present.
Mr. Tholen? Mr. Carrico?
Present.
Mr. Eckhoff?
Present.
Mr. Hunter?
Present.
Ms. Turner?
Present.
Ms. Monday?
Present.
Ms. Andrade?
Present.
Ms. Armour Earps?
Present.
Ms. Ritmanick-Emmy?
Present.
Mr. Scanlon?
Present.
Mr. Wheeler? Mr. Alexander Hildebrand?
Present.
We have a quorum.
I have not received anything for public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Any public comment at this time? I'll make one quick one. Wish our coroner, Mr. Gessner, a happy birthday today. In the packet, you should have a copy of the minutes sent to you from November 10th, 2022. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Mr. Hunter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I should say though, welcome all the new members to the committee. Be your first meeting, seeing we didn't have one in December, so everybody that's new, welcome. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So, up first to be the Chief Judge, Mr. Cunnington.
Kudos to you, Chief Judge. Star is born.
15 minutes of fame.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Okay, well, I just want to report on a couple of things that are going on, especially for the new members. There is a renovation project going on at the courthouse in the basement. It was completely gutted and is moving along smoothly. They are having some supply problems with the doors and the door frames, and that is supposed to hold us up a little bit, at least a month or two. They haven't said for sure when the supplies are coming in, but everything else is moving along smoothly, and we're planning on having an event once that the whole basement is completed to show it to the county and show it to the people. The other thing that I wanted to report on is since Judge Kramer's retirement, Judge Marlo Jones has moved into the family court and is handling that court call now. He has also been assigned to the Veterans Court, and him being a veteran, that was actually a natural no-brainer, I guess, assignment, and he's doing a great job. Let's see, is Sandy's not here yet?
No, she's not coming. She called me this morning. She's sick.
Okay. So the other big item that's going on at the courthouse, I wasn't sure if she was going to report on it or not, is the new case management system. We have an antiquated system called CourtView that is almost impossible to get updated, and it's very expensive, and it's obsolete basically. It does not comply with any of the state reporting requirements that we're required to do. And so we have signed a contract now with Tyler Technologies to move forward with their proposal. It will take approximately 2 years, we're estimating, to get it fully implemented. They will do it in phases. Probation is involved, state's attorney is involved, and of course the circuit clerk's office is involved as the keeper of the records, and the courts are involved as well in this comprehensive system. And it will deliver the reports that are required by the Administrative Office of Illinois Courts, as far as the time standards and all of the reporting requirements that the Supreme Court has put on the various circuits. So other than that, anyone have any questions? No? Okay.
Mr. Hunter?
I got a couple.
Yep.
Judge Cunnington, Chairman, thank you very much. First one, what was the highlight of when you were writing that decision recently? Additionally, if Sandy were here, I was going to ask her with respect to the new system that'll be implemented, where might there be a cross-training of the staff?
With regard to the first question, we actually have one of the plaintiffs here today, so I'm going to let him speak to the decision that was rendered. I really don't want to comment on it at this time. It is in the hands of the Supreme Court, and we'll see what they say. It's possible it'll get referred back to the circuit, but I'll defer to Mr. Rowe to speak to the decision if he cares to. With regard to the second question on cross-training, there is a significant training component in the bid, and as far as who's going to be cross-trained for what, you'll have to ask Sandy that. But I know she's
Yeah, that's been something that I've been pushing.
yeah.
And I haven't gotten a reasonable answer with respect to the old system or the present system, and that would help in terms of absenteeism and adding additional personnel. So.
Yeah, she's aware of that, and there is a need for cross-training. It is it's built into the contract, but you know, specifically who's going to be trained on what systems, I don't know.
Okay, thank
Anything
you.
else?
Yes, Mr.
Good
Scantlin.
morning, and
Good morning.
thanks for the letting me speak, Chairman. My question is local law enforcement going to have access to the new system, or is that specifically going to be for the courts?
All the stakeholders are going to be involved in it,
Okay.
so yes, the answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
In your package, you have a copy of the circuit clerk's report. I got a call from her and she is sick, so she will not be here. I would take a motion to approve the report. Mr. Fairfield, second by Miss Monday. Okay, just for the new members, if you look at the first page in Sandy's report, and if you look at the top where it says dispersed total, that gives you a total for the county. This month it's $233,336.43. And the whole listing underneath there is the entities that get this. So she'll be able to explain that to you a lot better next month. We have a motion to second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Up next, State's Attorney, Mr. Rowe. In your package, you have a copy of the grand jury report and the grand jury statistics report. Would take a motion to combine and approve those. Mr. Fairfield, Mr. Eckhoff. Good morning, Jim.
Morning, everyone.
Comments on your report, sir?
Sure. So 24 indictments at the first grand jury of 2023. We finished last year with 772. So that was, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was a full year of grand jury proceedings. So, you know, during COVID, we had some proceed through, you know, probable cause hearings. And in the courthouse, so it was hard to kind of track those numbers, but 772 reflects the entire number of felonies that were charged by our office in 2022. So that is somewhat down, but the number of cases that came into our office were down as well. So I think that that is a positive trend to see. So, and if you recall, city had a period of time there, I remember if it was in August or September, where they had 5 or 6 homicides solved within a week or two. So those numbers might have spiked a little bit at that time, but that was a great couple weeks for them to close a lot of really big cases, and of course those cases are still pending. So, anyone have any questions about the report?
No questions? Okay, we have a motion to second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have 2 individuals from my office here today, Miles Maiden and Chris Borkart, and I just wanted to recognize them. You know, our office is a prosecutor's office, and we do a lot of work in the community as well. We try to balance those scales of justice equally between prosecution, prevention, and intervention. And most of our events are planned, but sometimes life throws a curveball. And a couple weeks ago, as happens somewhat often now, someone came into our office, was standing in the foyer area, and literally staring at a wall. And when our staff inquired, you know, everything okay? Can we help you with something? It was a young man who was clearly in a mental health crisis, had tears in his eyes, didn't know who he was. And I was in the middle of a case. I was able to ask Chris and Miles, they come up to the courthouse, meet with this young man, and they took action like you would want them to do. They brought him to one of our local social service agencies in their own cars, you know, using their own gas, their own money, their own time. They brought him to one of the social service agencies, got him to fill out some paperwork that might ultimately lead to services. They then, as they tried to figure out what to do next, they brought him for lunch. Again, came out of their own pocket to buy this young man lunch, and then transported him up to Riverside Hospital to make sure that he wasn't just put back out into the streets, and that he received the help he needed. And they stayed there with him until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and their days start very early in the morning. I don't know if they were at work on time the next day, but they stayed there very late into the evening. And I just wanted to recognize them for going above and beyond for that young man. So could you guys stand up, please?
Yeah, stand up
Miles and Chris.
with a name with a face.
You know, you never know what impact your work has, and they'll never know what they necessarily, you know, averted or saved that young man from. So that experience, though, exposes even more for all of us the need to have services in our community to assist individuals like that young man and so many other young men, you know, that exist. And it's not always government's duty. I understand that, and a lot of times, you know, it should fall ideally on families and on social service agencies that exist to provide those services. But sometimes, you know, we've got to step into the gap too. I know law enforcement does it all the time, and I know all of you do in your own way. But I wanted to especially recognize them because that's not necessarily part of their job, so to say, but they stepped up and did what needed to be done. So thank you guys. Was there anything else?
No.
Okay.
Comments from
Andy, did you want me to talk about the space? Okay, so kind of on that same topic, you all know that we traditionally have, and the state attorney's office have always had a criminal division and a civil division, right? Criminal prosecutes, civil defends the county against lawsuits. And sometimes, as we found out over the last couple of months, civil division sues too, files lawsuits. But we started a community division probably about a year ago. And the goal of that community division, again, make sure we're investing equally in prevention and intervention as we do prosecution. We run, through that division, we run a number of programs. We have a juvenile mentoring program. It's the only program of its kind in the United States. We are the only prosecutor's office that is an AmeriCorps site. I'm really proud of that because it's sort of a new pilot project, but that program pairs every kid that comes into the juvenile justice system with a mentor. We have a mental health component to that. Riverside works with young individuals that come into the system and provides them with a free mental health evaluation, and if services are indicated, free ongoing mental health services, even beyond the time that their case may be finally closed. So it ensures that they're getting those services all at no cost to the county and at no cost to the patient. We have an after-school program that runs every day of the week, Monday through Friday, till almost 8 o'clock at night. District 111 has allowed us to use the space in Avis Huff on 5th Avenue. So we've kind of occupied almost half of that facility to run that program. It's available to kids countywide, not just District 111 students, and kids from all over the county do attend. We've got, you know, the fishing program that Miles runs, which seems to be what our office is known for these days, fishing of all things. But you know, the senior programs, you see all that stuff we're doing. We need space so that we can interact with the community off the street. A lot of people, you know, understandably may be intimidated to come into the courthouse. They may be intimidated initially to work with law enforcement. So I spoke with Chairman Wheeler, and we were hoping to make use of the VAC building on Schuyler. It is currently only housing files. A lot of the files are from my office. I think Clerk Hendrickson has a number of files in there. I don't know if Circuit Clerk Cianci has any in there. I don't think so. So I think it's just mostly my files that we're waiting to destroy, and I think the clerk has some stuff in there. He's going to be getting out of there pretty soon. So it's a space that has been just sitting vacant. not much use, and we think it would be a great community division space. We are able to cover the cost of the utilities that may arise. I think it would be minimal, probably. But I know there was a repair, something with a tuck pointing that might need to be done. That's probably got to be done either way. So I know it's not on the agenda, so there's not a vote, but Chairman Wheeler wanted me to talk about it and see if any of you had any questions about the use of that space. So we're quickly outgrowing the space that we have. We have staff-wise for prosecutors and our civil division. The school district has been great by allowing us to use that, but we need a space where we can house that division, all of the records and stuff, and the staff that works on these programs.
Mr. Wheeler.
The reason I asked Jim to talk about it is because with building and grounds coming, we wanted them to know, to kind of make the final head nod. Yeah, this is fine. It's going to cost about 10 grand to do the tuck pointing. That's the bid we have right now, to keep the moisture. Not only the back wall of that building is our maintenance shop, so both sides are getting a little bit of water right now when you get the sideways rain from the west. So once we address that, and Jim picking up the utilities, it's the use of a space that's not being used right now. So I would just say that if the committee's okay with it, we'll talk about it tomorrow. It was one of those things.
Head nod on that. Yeah. Ms. Ertz.
How many kids right now are you servicing, approximately?
You know, through the after-school program, we have around 150 go through there a year. That doesn't mean they're all there every day. Through the mentoring program, I want to say maybe we're up to 40. We have a bunch of kids in the mentoring program. We need mentors, quite honestly. We're doing some recruitment. Jeanette Weir, she's been leading that effort for about a year now. So she's going to businesses, she's going to hospitals, talking to their staff members to try to recruit volunteers. It's tough to get people in the door to be a mentor.
Sure.
Yeah, but I would say, you know, and if you count the fishing program, Miles, how many youth do you think you had come through that? Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. And we're really, you know, we'll serve any child that comes to any of our programs. Our focus is on court-involved youth and youth that schools or law enforcement or parents have identified as maybe heading in that direction. If you look over the years, if you took a 10-year snapshot, and let's say you take out homicides that are maybe in a domestic context, right? So now you're looking at non-domestic homicides. In almost every case, either the offender or the victim, and most of the time both, have at some point gone through the juvenile justice system. So, you know, they call the school to prison pipeline, but if you really had a filter on there, right, you funnel them through initially the juvenile court system. And if they're going through there and then they're ending up a victim or an offender, our system is failing them. That's what that means. That means we had an opportunity to do something, and whatever we did, it wasn't enough. So we're looking at the juvenile court system as kind of the most important courtroom in the courthouse right now. And for long-term public safety, how do you impact that the most? Intervention and prevention with those kids.
Okay.
So.
Mr. Hunter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, kudos to you, Jim. With respect to, I know it's some time ago, we had a project in which we were discussing the overdose, the epidemics, cocaine, fentanyl and stuff, and you were one of the presenters at the NAACP as well as Bob Gessner. It was very enlightening in terms of the information that you guys provided, and it was needed, and I'd like to see that continue in terms of that panel discussion with the various individuals, K-Meg and other folks that were at that particular venue. Also, something you didn't mention, is the movie night, and that's a hit. And I think we on the east side took full advantage of that, and we appreciate Miles, and you know, and he's working late into the night with the movies and stuff, and we blocked off streets, and fire department, Kinky City was there, police department, and it's really a good thing for the various neighborhoods and stuff, and I think that was a resounding, or it is a resounding success.
Yeah, thank you. And you know, Coroner Gessner, Chris, and Miles, they have been going into the schools, talking to kids about the overdose epidemic, and just staying away from that stuff. So they're continuing that work. Miles is actually going to be leaving us. He is going into the Navy. So he's just waiting for his orders, I believe. He said once they told him he could fish off the ship, he was all in. That's all it took.
Any other questions for Mr. Rowe?
Thank you.
Up next, the Public Defender's Office, Mr. Pennewick. In your package, you have a copy of Mr. Pennewick's monthly report. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Fairfield, second by Mr. Hunter. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Comments on that on your report? Might want to explain a little bit to the new members.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to congratulate and acknowledge all the new members, some of whom I already know, some of whom I don't. My office is available for anyone, anytime. I know at least one of you have already been there, so I appreciate that. I'm always willing to answer any questions. I've worked with some of you before, and hope you guys know that. Basically, we submit a report every month to you and the county. It basically just outlines cases open, cases closed, how they were disposed of, and things of that nature. It's been an ongoing problem regarding the backlog, and we've discussed that. You know, I don't want to get too much in the weeds this morning, but you know, we have various duties and responsibilities to our clients, so the backlog is real and it's a problem, and I acknowledge that. But on the other side of the coin, I have duties to my clients primarily, so the two are not mutually exclusive. They can get resolved independent or in conjunction with each other, but that's where I'm at with that. The second page, assuming you have that, outlines the specific attorneys and the specific numbers for each attorney. It's pretty self-explanatory once you go through it with a finer comb. So that's basically what the report entails. Other than that, I have no comments.
Any questions on the report? I have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Anything else, sir?
Nope.
Right, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Up next, the Probation Department, Mr. Latham. In the package, you have a copy of Mr. Latham's monthly report. Take a motion to approve. Mr. Carrico, second by Mr. Eckhoff. Morning again, Tom.
Good morning.
Comments on your report, sir?
Just go over some year-end totals, or totals for 22. You can see more at the bottom of the report. You can see we had over 36,000 contacts, 36,476 specific. That's up from about a little over 2,000 from last year, which I'm real happy with, because every month of this committee I talked about our vacancies. And that put work on everyone else, but they were still, the staff did a great job getting the job done, even with that additional work. So I'm very pleased with that. And we carried several vacancies most of the year. We're down to one right now. I'm hoping to get that to 0 in a few weeks. So I'm really happy with that. You can see the GPS numbers increased slightly over 21. We collected over 4,000 drug tests, which is about the same this 2021. In our juvenile division, specifically juvenile detention, that was the biggest change. You can see we had a total of a little over 1,600 detention days compared to over 3,000 in 2021. So a big decrease there from last year. So that's all. I just wanted to touch on those totals unless anyone had any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Latham on the report? Okay, we have a motion, a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I really don't have anything else. Obviously, we discussed the decision briefly, so that kind of put our pretrial, on basically status quo. And we'll just see what happens. But again, I talked to the chairman briefly about this, but if things changed, we could go the route of needing a few positions that are funded by the state. But that would be a discussion. But we'll see what happens now with that. And also real quick on the drug court auction. Yep. Last October, we haven't been here in a while. It raised about $15,000, a little over $15,000, which is good. That goes a long way in helping the drug court program and all the clients in that program. So thank you to everyone who was there. Appreciate it.
Great time.
Yeah, it was. It went well.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For juvenile detention, what is the and again, if you don't have the numbers, but just ballpark, Vermilion County and Will County, what are the rates for those per diem for each detainee? I'm just curious if we've checked that lately.
Well, yeah, with Will County, which we work closely with, it's about $175 a day for most people. I think there could be a change there with some meetings. Vermilion, $85 to $100 a day.
All right. Time-wise, they're about just the same as far as because of the construction of the bridges and everything in Joliet. It's a mess to get through there. I'm just curious on transport time. Maybe that's a sheriff question.
Yeah, it's probably a better question for the sheriff, but it's I guess they're probably about the same. I don't know. I'd have to
just for this committee, you know, that I want to say kitty of money has been spent. We haven't had to pay for juvenile detention because of the sale of that facility. And that's now starting again.
It is, yes.
So as a budgetary item, we probably should at least have internal discussions about what we're doing that manner. And obviously, if it's twice the price, we have to weigh that because the state's not doing us any favors as far as what we have to pay for versus what they used to pay for, if that makes sense.
And the detention days being down.
Yeah, they're down.
That helps.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps.
It helps.
You know, so.
You know, there's been a conscious decision to not detain juveniles. But then also you start to look at, well, how many ankle bracelets are we going to have to buy because of pretrial based on that decision that will come from the Supreme Court. So if this committee should know his department's in flux, really, you're just kind of waiting to see which shoe drops.
Yeah.
Kind of. Have you heard from Tyler on scheduling?
I haven't. Actually, I got a voicemail that I got to return today from John. From town. Yeah.
Right.
To get the process going, and we'll be ready, and hopefully that goes smooth. And
probation's the first to do the changeover to the new system. Tyler, the courts management system. So, because it's theirs is cloud-based, so they're going first. That's why I asked. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
Do you want to explain, or one of you explain what we're talking about for Joliet and that?
Sure, go
juvenile,
ahead, Tom. This is your...
for
the new members, I'm talking.
Yeah, in regards to detaining a juvenile, there's about 12 centers, juvenile detention centers around the state. Joliet's one, Vermilion County, McLean County has one, and then so on. Anytime a minor is arrested by the police, unlike an adult, they can't be just taken to jail. So they call our office. We have somebody on call 24/7. They screen the minor based on priors, all this information we have, and there's a point system, and that determines if they're going to be detained. If they're detained right now, the sheriff's department, the police department brings them to the sheriff's department then transports them to River Valley. So that's where they're housed, and then we're charged. Now we're charged daily for that. Every day they're there. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
It made sense in my head. I don't know.
Any other questions for Mr. Latham? Anything else?
I have nothing. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, the sheriff, Mr. Downing. In the package, you have a copy of the sheriff's monthly report. Take a motion to approve by Mr. Scanlon, second by Ms. Ripnick-Emming. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everybody.
Comments on your report, sir?
Yeah, and these comments will probably blend in with the second item on the agenda, the year-end statistics, only because a lot of them are related. We did not meet in December, so there's quite a bit to cover. As everybody else said, welcome to the new members on the committee as well as the board itself. Also, if you ever want to come and tour our department, whether it's the sheriff's office, the jail, either one, you're certainly more than welcome. We've had some come already, but I think it would be important for the new members to come and see what sometimes we're talking about up here, because sometimes it could be a little confusing if you haven't seen it. So I would certainly welcome you to come out and tour. As far as the December report, the one thing we look at every month is the number of local inmates that we're housing. I know there's been a lot of information put out there by everybody regarding the Safety Act, so, and whether or not people are going to stay in jail or not stay in jail. Our local population over the course of the last year has actually gone down. Last year we averaged about 242 inmates per day. Last year being, and I'm talking about 2021, in 2022 our average is about 214, so a significant drop in the number of inmates that are in our custody. Our out-of-county inmates, on the other hand, and for those of you that don't know, we do house for the U.S. Marshals. We have a federal contract with the U.S. Marshals. We house inmates from the Northern District of Illinois, which is Chicago. We house inmates from the Central District of Illinois, which is Springfield. And we house inmates from the Northern District of Indiana, which is Hammond. So in 2021, we averaged about 270 out-of-county inmates per day. And in 2022, that number went up to 356 per day, which after we lost the contract to house ICE detainees in 2021, that was somewhat of a pleasant surprise from a revenue standpoint. So we've increased our number of Chicago feds, and we also house currently for Champaign County. And I'll get into a little bit of that for the reasons for that as we move forward. So with that being said, with the increase in out-of-county, in fiscal year 22, we actually brought in basically $750,000 more in 2022 than we did in 2021, which I would have never imagined after we lost ICE. So, you know, those are good things. Some of the bad things that go along with that is there was increase, obviously, in some costs. When we house more inmates, there's more cost. But those somewhat offset. We also, on the corrections side and the deputy side, we also went through contract negotiations, which also saw an increase in our budget as well. And I'll get into just to go through the stats if you're okay with that.
Yep.
So one of the things that, you know, we talked about is the number of locals, and when we talk about some of this, and if I'm, the majority of the time I'm talking about our local inmates. If I talk about the out counties, I'll make sure to stress that. But one of the things that, you know, our numbers are down, as I said, our local numbers are down. And we went through for the year and found out how individuals were getting released from our jail, because I'm sure that everybody has heard all the arguments about we can't keep poor people in jail and the rich buy their way out of jail, which isn't necessarily true, by the way, but that's Springfield for you. I can tell you that of the 3,961 individuals who were released from custody in 2022, 1,790 posted a cash bond, and 505 were released on their own recognizance, where they didn't post a nickel, which is 58%. 2,295 individuals either posted bond or were released on a recog. So 58% of those individuals either posted bond, released on a recog. There were 492 individuals who were released to other agencies. So, in other words, somebody had a warrant out of county, out of state, they got released to a social service agency. 12% of those who were released to another agency. There was 142 court-ordered releases, which is about 4%. 127 inmates were sentenced to the Illinois Department of Corrections and were transferred there. There was 121 who served county time. who were released, and there were 14 additional ones who were picked up by the Illinois Department of Corrections because they had a parole hold because they violated their parole. That accounted for about 7%. I talked before about, and I hate to keep harping on this example, but it's so pathetic. It just, I have to keep talking about it. Some of you probably heard that one of the things that the argument to bond was the mother who got caught stealing a pack of diapers, and we kept her in jail for 6 months, which doesn't happen, by the way. And I'll tell you why. Back in 2018, they passed some legislation regarding bail, and they created Category A and Category B offenses. A retail theft is considered a Category B offense. In a Category B offense, you get credit for $30 per day while you're in custody. So if your bond is set at $100, you're basically going to serve about 3 days in jail. You're not going to serve 6 months for stealing a pack of diapers. There were 51 inmates in 2022 released under Category B. There were 75 released pending further investigation. And what that means is there might have been insufficient information that the state's attorney had. So we released these individuals so that whatever agency arrested them can provide additional information to the state's attorney. That accounted for about 3%. 29 were released to reporting probation. 9 were released to non-reporting probation, which accounted for about 1%. 86 individuals were no charged, and 13 cases were dismissed, which accounts for 2%. So of the 3,961 individuals who were released, 86% ended up being no charge for one reason or the other. So our average length of stay in 2022 was 19.1 days. That's everybody. So, to say that people are spending an inordinate amount of time in jail is just not true. Now remember, the average length of stay includes those that are in custody for murder, they may be here for a couple years, and those who maybe got a DUI and they came in the jail and got processed and got released and posted bond. So that's where that number comes from. I mentioned the Illinois Department of Corrections, and this number is going to be different than what I just told you because it's fiscal year versus calendar year. But in fiscal year 22, we sent 122 individuals to prison. The number I gave you just a few minutes ago is 127, but that included the numbers from December. So that number is 122. Last year, we sent 145. So we actually sent fewer this year. Those that were released by the Illinois Department of Corrections in 2022 was 456 who came back from prison to Kankakee County. In 2021, that number was 335. On the sworn side, if you look on the report, there were 20 less accidents in 2022. Our cases remain the same, and we actually wrote more warning tickets in 2022 than we did in 2021. So those that are out there saying that we just write tickets to make money, we're out there trying to keep the roadways safe. We're not trying to make money. Fatal accidents in Kankakee, unfortunately, were very similar. In 21, they were in fiscal year 21, there were 15, and in fiscal year 22, we had 14. And I know our numbers are going to differ from the coroners because we have different things going on, but those are the numbers that we look at. The good news, somewhat, although one's too many, but in 2021 there were 20 homicides in Kankakee County, and in 2022 there were 8. So that number is significantly down, which is a good thing. We hope to continue that. As I said, one is too many. Most all other categories under the activity all had very similar numbers. Two additional categories in the report that were added to the report in 22 were mental health calls, which I know that Mr. Rowe touched on, and we responded to 18. That number is only what Kankakee County Sheriff's Office responded to, not the entire county. And overdose cases, these are overdose cases that we responded to where not necessarily resulting in death, but somebody who may have overdosed and was administered Narcan and taken to the hospital. There's 27 of those. One of the things that in additional revenue that we started in May, thanks to Jim Rowe and his civil division, they passed a resolution, which they do in every municipality, where when we seize a vehicle for driving suspended or revoked, that vehicle is seized and the offender is required to pay $500 to get it back. Only since May 24th through December 31st, we brought in $36,500 from people going back to pick up their cars and paying $500 to get their cars back after being seized. So obviously the solution to that would be, if you're suspended or revoked, don't drive. But we know how people listen, so and how people follow the laws. So one other thing that's not on the report, our medical billing. Back in 2018, we hired an individual who was very familiar with the medical billing system. And in fiscal year 22, by reviewing every medical claim that comes through our office, and these are for inmates, the county saved $191,000. All told, since May of 2018, we've saved $624,000. So she does a great job reviewing these medical bills, making sure they're coded correctly. And were it not for her, we would be paying this extra amount. And lastly, back a couple years ago, the sheriff's office, in cooperation with the chairman, we were given all the duties of FOIA requests by most departments. And I can tell you that in 2022, we handled 376 FOIA requests, which is obviously more than one a day for the year. So our FOIA officer, who is Becky Powell, does a great job keeping up on those. There are time restrictions to be followed, and we have not had any issues with any timing issues or anything like that. So credit to her for doing a great job. Like I said, almost every department in the county sends their FOIAs to us, with the exception of a couple. So questions?
We've covered a lot so far. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor for the monthly report. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
One thing I want to cover before we get into animal control is our staffing. That seems to be an issue regardless of whether you're in law enforcement or whether you're in any other type of business. Staffing is a huge issue. I am still trying to find the place where people don't have to work and get money. But I haven't found that yet. But I can tell you that on our patrol side, we are funded for 52 sworn deputies, 53 if you include myself. And right now we are presently at 52. So we do not have a staffing issue on our patrol side. Certainly, if you'd like to give us 5 or 6 more, we would love to take them, but I get the cost and everything else. But our correction side's a little bit different. We are approximately 15 correctional officers short. We currently have 106 correctional officers. We have 2 off on medical leave. We have had a number of officers off for maternity and paternity leave. So it's been quite the busy year for our correction staff and having babies, so good for them. But that affects our staffing levels, and that affects the requirement for us to fill that with overtime. I can tell you that in fiscal year 22, 29 correctional officers left, and we hired 19. So as we lose people, we're trying to backfill as many as we can. So even in fiscal year 2022, put us 10 short, right off the bat. 22 resigned. They moved out of Illinois. Some moved out of Illinois. There were 6 who were hired at law enforcement agencies somewhere. And then the rest took jobs somewhere else. One retired, which, as some of you know, is almost unheard of in the corrections field. However, we've had, over the last 5 or 6 years, we've probably had 8 or 10 people who have retired and are collecting a pension from putting in 20 to 30 plus years as a correctional officer. So that's a good thing, and that's a credit to you guys for making this job worth staying around for, because that didn't happen in the past, I can tell you that. 2 were terminated, and 4 we hired as deputies. So, people aren't leaving because of the job conditions or anything else. They're leaving for other jobs, or they're leaving at our request. And I will have a year-end report that we traditionally do that'll have more information from both sides, corrections and our sworn side. Hopefully next month, but if not, March at the latest. So,
questions on that? Animal control.
All right, animal control. So Carrie and her staff continue to meet with our architects regarding the new building, factoring in what we need and versus the cost, because obviously that goes hand in hand. There's a lot of things we want, but there's also the reality that we can't afford the things that the Cadillac, if you will. So we are working through that. Carrie and her staff are working through that with the architects. Our population at the facility currently fluctuates significantly. There are days when it's full. There are days when it's almost full. With dogs and cats, animal control does a great job of getting the adoptable animals to various rescues across the northern part of Illinois. So credit to them. And I would just reiterate, and I know the current members have heard this before, but for the new members, if you're looking to adopt a dog or a cat, you're welcome to come out to Animal Control and we would find one for you. So that's all I got.
Questions for the sheriff? He may even, lower the adoption fee just for the new members.
We'll make you a heck of a deal.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody.
Up next, Coroner's Office, Mr. Gessner. In your package, you have a copy of the Coroner's monthly report and monthly receipts of money. Take a motion to combine and approve them. Mr. Carrico, second by Ms. Ripmanick. Happy birthday again, sir.
Thank you. 50 years old today. This is basically for the new county board. This is basically what I'm working off of right now. So these are basically our statistics for the year of 2022. We should have that all done by next meeting. Okay. There, we're still pending a lot of cases, and so basically I run down these. Not all the way down, but I concentrate on the number of calls we've had is 139 calls. When you see the word coroner down there at 25, that means that I have to go out and have to sign the death certificate. So I have to pull the medical records and read the medical records and try to find a cause of death where the doctor doesn't want to sign that. So toxicology, autopsies, we watch quite heavily. That's probably what costs us the most in our office. we usually run right around over 100 and 120 some autopsies a year. So, and as far as donations, donations mean that the Gift of Hope or something like that has taken maybe the eyes, or if they're still alive and kept under at the hospital there, and before they pull the tube there, and the family wants to do that, we allow that. Indigent means that people that lost a loved one don't want to pay for the funeral and they don't want anything to do with them anymore. Ends up, after a month, it ends up with, in my case, where I have to pay for it. But we've really stepped up to the plate on that, and really, you'll see in my final numbers coming up. Other than that, hospice deaths are 63 in our county. Referrals mean when the doctor signs. And then cremations, you can see in the world has changed a lot in burial to cremations. There's a lot of cremations in this county. X-ray, we do our own X-rays out there in our own facilities. My deputies are all been trained for X-rays. We can't do live people, but we can do all the deceases, which means it saves us a lot of money when it costs $300 to $500 per X-ray out there. It saves us a lot. So, other than that, KankakeeCountyCoroner.org will tell you a little bit all about our statistics throughout the year and what's going on in the county. Other than that, I'll take any questions on that if you have anything.
Would you like to explain your income summary report?
Sure.
To the new ones?
I'm getting down there.
Okay.
This is basically this particular sheet here is our income, basically, which is handled by my chief deputy quite a bit. Handles it all the permits that we get in, and what the amount of money that we get that goes into a special fund, which is is into the corners, called the corners fees. We get that particular money there, and that's put into a separate area. So. Other than that, it tells you about the different people. Sometimes you see a $300, $1,000 Clancy's. That's just paying in advance. That's all. And then the FOIA reports that come in. Also, talking to you about that, which hits the side of my heart pretty heavy is the overdoses. We have not stopped with the overdoses. The overdoses at 51 this year, coming up in 2022, is one of the highest we've had, other than the 2017 when we had 56. It's heartbreaking to see people die that shouldn't die. And they get into the, my family's done cocaine or heroin for years, but they didn't mix fentanyl with that. And that's what we have in this town here. There's a lot of mixtures. 82%, I believe Eric tells me that 82% of our overdose deaths involve fentanyl. It's a powerful drug, 50 to 80 times more powerful than morphine itself. So when they say they use heroin, we only had like 3 cases of heroin. So you can see that they're changing the drugs. Cocaine seems to be coming up high. But again, they mix it with, it comes with that. It's just a little granule. If you took your salt shaker and just hit it once like that, that amount is lethal death. And mixing that into a bowl or however a little baggie to get, you might not have it in there, but chances are you're gonna have it in there. And it's instant death, it's lethal death. I worry more about the officers on the street, which are all provided with Narcan. You heard the sheriff say how many that they have saved, in a total of way over 40 that were saved last year for in the county for all the police officers. Because the police officer could touch that in the wrong way, that could get into their system and they can go down. It's happened a couple times already, where you have 9 times. The problem with fentanyl right now is 4 milligrams of which you usually get 2 of them, that's 8 milligrams. That's not enough to pull you out of fentanyl. You gotta have more. That's why you have to call 911 immediately. We tell everybody that. as Jim talked about, we're going all over the county. We've hit thousands of people already trying to tell them about fentanyl from the early age of into the elementary school on up. We've been talking to people and going to people and talking to parents and talking whatever we can do to get this out to the news media. Right now, we've already been hit. We have one case so far of death, but 6 pending already since we started the new budget. 42 is the average age, which I just got through doing the seniors over at Riverside, Westwood, and not one of them could guess it. They always guess between 18 and 25 years of age. They don't guess at 42. That's the oldest. We've had them up to 60, 65, as low as 18. But this is a tremendous hit to our office, financial-wise, budget-wise. We do the best we can on that, but all I can do is tell you that we're out and about as much as possible. The COVID hit us pretty hard. We go to the seniors, and you talked about the 2 gentlemen back there, Miles and Chris back there. Thank you for what you do for me. I appreciate that.
Any questions or comments on the reports? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You want to invite them out to the morgue? New members?
You're reading what? Anybody that wants to come, and I have one right over there that basically has already been in to see an autopsy and did a great job. Yeah, that I won't ask the state's attorney. He's already been through one. Anyhow, I invite you to come. If not, you don't want to see an autopsy, please come and see, I think, the #1 morgue in the state of Illinois. We're put together with computers. We have great statistics, and it's clean. It's 2005 since we've had that morgue, and you can explain to them how clean it was in there. You would never know it when you walk through the doors. We've updated it through our coroner's fees. Any questions you have at the coroner's office, please call me. My door is always open. If you don't want to even go over there, stop by the office and show you. We are completely paperless. We don't do paperwork anymore. It's all on the computer. It's between my chief deputy and my administrative assistant and a couple other people that help. They completely took our files away. So I appreciate that.
Mr. Wheeler.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just following up on some of the ARPA money or the projects that we did out there. The doors are complete, correct?
Correct.
It's automatic doors, so they can carry what they're carrying, just leave that alone, but then go through the door without having to stop and you know, drop everything and open the door. The negative pressure system, I know there was a back order on that. Is that complete?
No, it's in the county now, but it's the weather out there that's holding them to go out there we have to shut down for 2 days.
Okay.
So we're kind of waiting for a little bit of a spring to come quick.
Sure.
But we're watching that, and we got a new freezer too. We ran into a problem with the COVID where we had to bring in a semi-trailer in case we got too many of them that was in the morgue out of there. So we've got that through the ARPA funds there. That's but I invite anybody to come out there. It's basically, as I say, I could drop a hamburger on the floor and still eat it. So.
Just so the committee knows also, the coroner, instead of selling the old freezer, we saved it for the new animal control facility, because what they do, or what they were planning to do, was, let's just say that they may have one of the nicer animal control facilities in the state when we're done with it, based on that gift, if you will. It's something that is usually not seen in their field, you know. So thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for the coroner?
Hello.
Hello. What about the education in the schools in regards to fentanyl?
We're hitting. We're scheduled for Bradley. We're scheduled for Manteno. We've been out to. We're going. I think we're going to Herscher. Correct? We've been out there. Yeah. We're going to all the school districts. They need to know about it, even though you don't see that. As my saying as I talk about is, I've had several kids come up to me at school and say, Mr. Gessner, you name a drug and I can get it for you. And that's stuck right here. And that's why I try to get out to, and I say that we're due to be at a number ones of the schools. We've been out to St. Anne, we've been to Moments, we've hit quite a few of them there. And you can hear a pin drop when you talk about it. And one of the biggest things we talk about is their phones. No, they can't ever wipe those phones clear. And that hits them pretty hard. Pictures, texts, whatever they do on that phone can come back to us if we subpoenaed it. And the police department take that and they go through all that. Not to go through everything that, I mean, some of the stacks come out that heavy, but we go through what's happened, trying to find that drug dealer. Induced homicide's big. I work well with the state's attorney on that. We were trying to get as many as we can possibly find, but it's always turns back to be the witness. Witness doesn't want to go in there. So, but to your answer again, we're hitting all the schools. We'll be at. Actually, I'm going to MAC pretty quickly here to talk to their biology class, because I think I know the anatomy pretty good, and that's what I kind of teach that. I think I've seen right close to 4,000 autopsies myself, so I will be there.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Is there any old business come before the committee? Any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn. Mr. Eckhoff, second by Miss Monday. All in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion